Hello everyone, my name is Jose Avalos, aka Dr. Logic8.
And this is Quinn Johnson, aka Quinjitsu.
And in this tutorial, we will teach you how to create enemies and friends within your levels for your toy boxes. Because one of the many things you can do in Disney Infinity is make enemies that you might want to fight, or you can create townspeople that can help you or give you a quest. And, well, that will add a lot of life to your toy boxes. So for doing that, there's two ways we can do this. One is we can open up the editor and place enemies directly, for example, by going into the enemies category. So for example, we can place one or two of these, and we can find them directly. However, this approach has some particular drawbacks, because if you place them directly using the editor, they can take up a lot of memory into your toy box, which is the bar that you see on the right. And also, the problem is that if you want to keep editing your levels, then these enemies are going to still be attacking you, so it can be kind of annoying. And also, there's a problem that we can set logic to these guys, for example, when we defeat them, but as soon as I defeat these enemies, the logic is gone with them. Because of all these reasons, it's better to best use generators, which are toys that create enemies and friends on demand, so that they will only be created and destroyed when you tell them to.
Yep. Yeah, plus like what you were saying, plus you can put, if you have them coming out of a generator, then a lot of the time you can put logic on the generator itself, so you say when this enemy or this friend generates, they'll automatically have these certain qualities that you want.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to be showing you right now. So we went to the Creativity Toys and we placed one enemy generator, which you can see with the red and all the little thorns on the side. And we will also place an action button so we can actually create the enemy. So for that, let's actually create the enemy itself. So for that, we will make new logic connection pressed. And now we will select the enemy generator. And from here, we can select the property like toy box enemies, inside out, whatever. And we also have another extra options right here at the bottom. So remove all the enemies that are generated by the enemy generator are going to be removed. Quinn, I know that you use this particularly a lot in your levels.
Yeah, so basically the thing, like Jose was saying, when you have a bunch of enemies running around your level for a battle or whatever, that's great. But say you move on to a new section of the level, well, those enemies, if they haven't been removed, are still in your level running around, and that takes up a lot of memory. And a lot of time, especially if you want to build a really nice big level, you're always watching your memory and looking at ways that you can save memory and spend it on, basically use that memory on parts that you want. So if you're going to leave an area and you don't want a bunch of enemies still roaming around there taking up memory, then you can use this remove all logic connection to basically delete them all, and then that frees up your memory for future events you want to have happen. Exactly.
And now we also have like random fodder enemy, which are enemies that are pretty easy to defeat, or a random boss or a random melee, in case that you want to surprise the player. And also surprise yourself. But for now, let's just go with Toy Box, and we will select, let's go with the King's Guard. So now we push the button, and the enemy appears, and he hasn't seen me yet. Oh gosh, now he did see me. So now I will just destroy it. But now, will you notice that the enemy appeared at the location of the enemy generator itself? Now, if you don't want to see, or let players know where the enemy is going to show up, we can actually do that. So that is why we're going to make a locator connection. So we go to the Creativity Toys, and we go select Locator. And now what we will do is select the enemy generator and say, New locator connection. And now we will select the locator and say generation location. So now if I spawn the enemy, it will spawn at the location of the locator itself, even though the locator is going to be hidden when we put away the wand. So that's a good way of, if you want to surprise players, not letting them know where the enemies are going to be. So locator connections are pretty much indispensable when you work with an enemy generator in here.
Yep. Plus, locators take up a lot less room to place than an actual generator, and so that's a nice way to, put
Free
a
up
bunch-
space.
Yeah, free up space.
And usually it's a good practice to keep your creativity toys as hidden as they can from the player. So that's also good. That's why another reason why you want to do a locator connection. So now we can actually make logic connections, for example, when we remove an enemy or when they appear or when we defeated them. So let's actually do that. For that, we are going to be, let's actually shoot some fireworks when the enemy appears. So that's why I'm placing this party cannon. But now, in the creativity toys, we're actually going to make the player celebrate once the enemy has been defeated. So for that, we will select an action enforcer. And let's see what kind of logic connections we can make from an enemy generator. So for that, we select it and we place new logic connection. And we have three options. Generated, which will play any time a single enemy is created by the enemy generator. We have enemy defeated, which is placed every time a single enemy has been defeated, in this case by Mulan. And all remove, it plays automatically after we we activate the logic connection, remove all from the enemy generator. So for now, we'll say that when an enemy has been generated, oh, my bad. Yeah, I selected the wrong toy. So new logic connection generated. We will play some fireworks. Now when the enemy has been defeated, so new logic connection, enemy defeated, we will make all players celebrate. So that's why we choose celebrate, and in this case all. And let's place a third toy whenever we actually kill all the enemies. So let's make the player like boo. So for that we will place a sound effects toy. And now we will say new logic connection once all the enemies have been removed. We will play a general sound effect, and in this case it's gonna be
I actually think it's going to be under vocal now.
it's gonna be under vocal, but the buzzer can also serve its
that'll
purpose. So we will take the buzzer. And now we will actually create another button so we can actually make the connection for eliminating all the enemies.
Yeah, so one thing that's probably worth mentioning is that when you're doing the logic, defeating an enemy is different than just removing them. So when you've defeated an enemy, they actually, are defeated by combat or whatever, and then the remove all just means they're kind of deleted out of the level through that logic connection of remove all. So defeat and remove are different.
Yeah, so that's exactly what we're going to be showing in action. So for that, we'll push the button. We generated an enemy, and the fireworks went off. So now I'm just gonna defeat the enemy.
Yes.
And now Mulan celebrates, which is exactly the connection we set up with defeated. But now let's actually generate two enemies. So you can also use the enemy generator to create more than one enemy, but you have to call that logic connection several times. And now if we push this button, it's going to be remove all. All the enemies are gone, and we'll listen to that buzzer sound effect. Or at least we should, because we aren't recording with any in-game sound as of right now. But it should have played. So now we see how all the logic connections we have with the enemy generator, all the three logic connections, how they work. So far, the enemy generator works in pretty much the same way as it worked on Disney Infinity 2.0. But now we can actually make the enemies follow different pathing. So for that, we first need to create a path that the enemies are going to follow. So we go to Creativity Toys and we will say Path Creator. We will select one close to where the enemies are spawning, and now let's say going through here and here and here. So now you can see the enemy path while I have the one, but once I take it out, it's also hidden. So now to make the connection, we will actually select the enemy generator and say New Path Connection. And once we press that, we will select the Path Creator, which is right here, the green dot. We will connect it and say Toy Box Path.
Ooh, nice.
Oh my goodness. And now, if we check out the properties of the enemy generator, we will see that now we have generated enemy options, and we have all these 3 properties. Ignore outside influences is that once they are on the path itself, they're not gonna attack the player or any member of the opposite team unless they are attacked. So they will ignore any players. But this does not count for, say, things like safety domes or anything of the sort. Return to path after attacking means that after they are attacked or they attack, and then, you know, enemies are defeated, they will try to come back to the path and continue the road they were on. And finally, we have their movement style, which loop means that once we reach the final point of the path, they will be teleported back to the very beginning and redo the path again. But we can change it so when we say go back and forth, which is what we're going to be trying right now.
This is cool. Like a lot of stuff I'm still like exploring too, so this is really cool stuff.
So now I generated the enemy, and you can see that the enemy is starting along the path. Now, ignoring the player or outside influences only works once the enemies are on the path itself. So between generating here at the locator and the path, if they had seen me, they would have attacked me. Yes, just so you know that you got to be really careful about that. And now if I attack them, now they will go into their usual behavior and try to attack me.
With your defeat,
and fail.
And fail, exactly. Yeah, you can beat the Mulan. You can. All right, and finally, if you have multiplayer competitions, you might want to have some enemies that can work for you, or they want to, you know, attack other players. So for that, what we will need to do is go to the Creativity category and place one of the team activators. So it should be blue team activator, orange, green, and purple. So for now, we'll just go with blue team. I'll step right on this one. So now I'm part of the blue team. And now for making a connection for teams, there's 2 ways of doing it. One, say new team connection, and selecting the team activator itself. So now we select connect and we say set team. So now any enemy created by the path generator, or in this case enemy generator, is going to be walking down this path and is going to be part of a blue team, as you can possibly see. And now the enemy is not attacking me because it says, oh, I see a player, but it's of the same team as I am. So that's one way of setting up the teams of particular enemies, but there's also another second way of doing it. So for that, we first need to eliminate the connection we had. And now in the properties of the enemy generator, properties, and say team. And team can be a blue team, orange team, and whatever. And now, as you can see, the enemy is still blue team. But now it's attacking me because I'm not part of any particular team.
Oh, because you got rid of your connection to the blue generator.
Exactly. So that's how enemy generators work. Now, we can actually, we're going to make now friends. So we can actually make townspeople, and they work in pretty much the same way. So you can also attach them to paths, like, you know, new path connection. We can also use a locator itself so that they can appear in another way. New interaction object connection is mostly related to interior objects. So if they see a chair or a painting, you can actually tell them that when you generate them, go admire that painting or whatever.
That's so cool. That's new to me, so that's awesome.
Yeah, so now we will see what is actually different. So for that, we will say the properties, and we can just not only set a team, but we can also set their default behavior. If you remember in Disney Infinity 2.0, you could generate them, but then after a few seconds, they would just start walking around. And the only way to change their behavior was selecting them individually. But now we can use the friend generator and set the behavior, and we can make them sleep, flee. Yeah, let's say make stand still. And now we actually need to generate a townsperson. So for that, we will select this button, new logic connection, and pressed. And selecting the friend generator, we can, just like the enemy generator, create a townsperson by franchise. In this case, Star Wars, or Inside Out, Toy Box, or we can also make a random cast member. Cast members are characters that give you missions on playsets. It can be a random princess, or any from Disney playset, townsperson, and so many more. So for that, we will say let's go with Toy Box, and let's play Snow White.
She's really nice.
I know. I know. She's the fairest one of them all.
That's true.
So now, Snow White appeared at the location of the friend generator, and she doesn't move. In fact, she will never move at all because she already has that behavior that we had set up for her. Well, and now that we have Snow White in here, we can actually modify her behavior as well. But instead of selecting her directly, like, getting close to her, which is still a valid option, we can actually send the logic connection to the enemy generator itself. So for that, we will select the second.
Generator.
I'm very sorry. I'm thinking from the point of view of the queen.
Yeah.
So for that, we'll select, instead of spawning one of these, we will go to generated friend options and now play looped. So it will play an animation several times or just once. And if it's not standing still, you can make her, in this case, follow you or stop following me. So for that, I'll say play looped. And now let's go with jump up. So now if I push the button, so now we push the button and now we can see that she's actually looping and jumping over. So that's how you can actually modify them. If you don't see the character following the animation directly, it's only for characters that have been generated after you make the logic connection. Mm-hmm. So for example, the first Snow White that we generated, she wouldn't do that behavior. That's why you will see some edits throughout this tutorial. But the second Snow White that we generated after making the logic connection, so in fact, let's make a new one. And now I push the button. She's gonna be starting jumping too.
Perfect.
Because it's a connection that we made after.
So basically, the default, because you have the properties of the friend generator, you said stand still, so that's what she does when she generates. And then when you hit the other button modifying that behavior, saying now I want you to jump up, she'll start doing that.
Yeah, but that connection wasn't at first with the first Snow White that we had created.
Right.
So that's why it doesn't work. So now let's eliminate the friend generator. And now you will see that I generated one Snow White per logic connection or just one enemy. But what happens if we want to generate more than one, either enemy or friend? That's what we're going to be using, the wave generators. So for that, we go to the creativity toys and let's go with wave generator, enemy wave generator. This one can still be used for generate more than one enemy, but its use is obviously for creating more than one. So, just like before, you can attach objects like dynamic trigger areas or make them spawn at locators or set teams or make them follow paths as well. But the important property in here is configure wave. So, once we select configure wave, we will select add new and we can start placing, swamp creatures like this guys or broccoli and so on. But now, the important part is that right now we are creating one swamp creature followed by one broccoli. But if we want to make more than one, we will press the button that says set count. And now you will see that it can be 2, 3, up to 10.
Of that same type of enemy, right?
Yes. So now the way that the wave generator will work is that first it will spawn the 3 swamp creatures. And then after a short while, it will create a single evil broccoli. So how does that work? If we check the properties of the enemy wave generator, we have all these options. generate a random locator. So if we have several locators that are connected to the enemy wave generator, it will choose at random between them for generating all the enemies. Countdown enabled, before generating the wave, it will show a 3, 2, 1. And then we have generation delay. This is the delay between groups of enemies. So if I say, generate the wave, it will be 4 seconds, which is this value by default, between pressing the button and the 4 enemies and the 3 enemies appearing, the 3 swamp creatures, and then 4 seconds afterwards, it will be the broccoli. So in case that we want them closer together, let's go 3 seconds, for example. Disable generation effects is some enemies have an animation, like for example the frost giants from the Avengers playset would like break the ice, or there would be a magic swirl, with the bears from Brave. If we have this on, they will just appear. And finally, hold until all generated. The enemies are not going to attack you until you have generated them all.
So that would be, in this case, that would be like all 3 of the swamp creatures and one of the evil broccoli, and then after that, then they will all start attacking you.
Yeah, in fact, let's try having this one on. And team, just like with the enemy and the friend generator, we can set up the team that they will be. So now let's say push this button. So new logic connection pressed. And we will select the enemy wave generator. And now we have 2 options. Generate wave, which will start, in this case, creating first the 3 swamp monsters and then the broccoli, and defeat wave. That will kill all the enemies on it.
Yeah, and all the enemies that have come out of it.
Yes. So it will be like, it will kill all the enemies that have come before, just like Quinn said, and also it will not generate any other enemies in the wave itself. So let's say with generate wave, and one thing you have to be careful of is your memory bar. Because if you have too much memory, your box is too full, if we use the enemy wave generator and there's not enough memory to create all the enemies in the wave, then it will generate no enemies at all. So that's something you have to be careful of.
Yep.
And now let's generate enemies. So now the 3 swamp monsters, it's holding 2 of them, and now they're all attacking me. Oh gosh!
There we go.
There they go, to the big cloud in the sky.
Big swamp in the sky. And broccoli bowl or something.
Yeah. And now we have things like wave generated, so it would be after all the units have been created, or after we have defeated the wave. This is when we defeat any enemy within the wave itself. First unit generated will be, like in this case, after the first 3 broccoli monsters come out. And generator destroyed is not usually applied for enemy wave generators. It's usually applied for like the cauldrons that are used, like brave cauldrons and all. So you can just safely ignore this one. So let's say, like, for example, wave defeated, and we make Mulan celebrate. So celebrate all. And now let's call these guys again. 1, 2, 3. The swamp monsters were created, and 3 seconds afterwards. Yeah. So now I've defeated 2 enemies, and now that all of them are gone, we celebrate. And now you can also create friendly wave generators that behave in pretty much the same way. So they have the same connections, like, for example, wave generated, and so on. And also, the only difference is that we can make logic connections once we have changed. Like, for example, if we make all the Snow White celebrate, so play loop sleep, and we can do anything else. Like make players celebrate or create a wave or whatever. That would be the main difference. And well, that's it for this tutorial. So I hope you have enjoyed it, and if you have any questions, please let us know in the comments or in the forums. And well, thank you for watching.
Thanks a lot, guys.